I'm Terry Shepard, along with Jennifer Dornbush, with another in our series of interviews from the Outliers Writing University studio at Bouchercon 2025. You don't need another inspiration quote. You need a finish line. Outliers Writing University gives you clear frameworks for plotting, pacing, and revision, plus expert eyes on your pages so every scene works harder. Weekly wins, measurable progress, and a community that won't let you quit. If you're ready to go from hobbyist to disciplined storyteller, this is your moment. Enroll today at outlierswritinguniversity.com. And now, our Bouchercon 2025 interview with Lisa Jewell. Lisa Jewell is one of the world's most beloved storytellers. Since her breakout debut, Ralph's Party, in 1999, Lisa has written 23 novels that have captivated millions of readers across the globe. Her signature blend of suspense, sharp psychological insight, and richly drawn characters has made her a #1 bestseller on both the New York Times and Sunday Times lists, with her work translated into more than 30 languages. Her latest novel, Don't Let Him In, is already a #1 New York Times bestseller and one of this summer's most anticipated thrillers. At its heart are 3 women, Nina, her daughter Ash, and Martha, each entangled in the orbit of one dangerously charismatic man whose charm conceals something far more sinister. Before we welcome Lisa, I also want to tell you about my good friend Jennifer Dornbush, an amazing writer in her own right. She grew up in a medical family. Her father was a medical examiner in a relatively small town in northern Michigan.
Small community.
And it's great to have you here. Yeah.
Great to be here.
So start us off.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about Lisa and this book. And our first question for you, Lisa, is this novel revolves around these 3 women, Nina, Ash, and Martha, who are all drawn into the orbit of this same man. What inspired you to weave these stories together?
Okay, so I have an addiction to bizarre Netflix documentaries about the people who share this world with us, but behave in ways that are completely inexplicable to most normal people. And I do particularly like the genre of the romance scammer, the Tinder swindler, the Dirty John type character. I would say actually my book is more of a romance grifter than a scammer because he doesn't really have any scams in mind. And I'd also read this amazing memoir called The Psychopath, written by a woman called Mary Turner Thompson, a Scottish writer, about her experience of having been married to a man like this, who spun this web of lies for years and years and years and years, until she finally realised the truth. But what was missing from her memoir was any real insight into why he behaved like that in the first place, why he couldn't have just found a woman, married her, had a couple of kids, got a job, settled down, and got on with being normal human being. So I really just wanted to spend some time inside the head of a man who behaves like this. And he's not outlandish, he's not unrealistic. These men, and women do this as well, but there are men doing this as we're sitting here chatting, who have these unbelievably complicated lives that are just based on fantasy, lies, manipulation. So yeah, I just really wanted to get inside a man's head and try and work out why they behaved like that.
I love it. So tell us, how did you do that? What was the research or the process?
There was no research. I'd already done it. I'd already watched all the weird documentaries. I'd already read the memoir. I was ready to go. I just wanted to hit the ground running with this guy. And how I normally do that with, if I'm writing from the perspective of the bad character or the dark character, is to write them in the first person. And I just hit the ground running. I was just like, okay, here we go. Let's start. What's he thinking? What's he doing? And my first scene with him in the first person is him waking up in bed 4 years before the main storyline begins, with the woman he's married to 4 years previously, a lady called Tara. And from his perspective, you see him embracing her. They're having their morning embrace, and she's all nestled up against him, and they're telling each other they love each other. But he's thinking, I really hate the way this woman's scalp smells. And at that moment, it's just okay. Now we're in. Let's go. Let's just see where this crazy guy takes me. So I didn't have anything prepped at all. I just put him in a moment and just let him take over.
Oh, goodness. So would you say you are a pantser or a plotter?
I am. If there's a scale
Okay.
from one end to the other, I am at his far
10 being like pantser?
right up there at number 10 on the pantser. Yeah.
All right.
Extreme pantser.
Extreme. I feel like that should be a t-shirt.
Thinking about my book before I write it, let alone planning it. I like to know where I'm going to start and then just kind of put it away and just think I'm going to worry about all of that when I get to my laptop, and then I'll work it out while I'm sitting at my laptop.
You've written 23 of these stories, and they're uniformly excellent.
Well, thank you.
Where do your ideas come from?
They are really, really peculiar little ideas that kickstart my books. They're very rarely a grand sweeping idea. In fact, this is up there at the top end of having what you might call a proper idea, which is I'd like to write about a romance scammer from his perspective. But normally my books start from some tiny little grain of sand that just gets into my head and just starts sort of...
And then makes a pearl.
Yes, and it makes a pearl. And then, so it's quite often things that I just see in passing while I'm walking around the streets. Like, none of this is true. My novel before Don't Let Him In, I was inspired by walking the dog one evening and just looking and seeing this man sitting in his window, minding his own business, looking at his laptop and deciding there was something off about him. And he had some dark secret that he was hiding. And I just wanted to get inside his apartment, get inside his head, get inside his world, find out who he was. And so I kind of made a whole story for him and he was only a side character in the story in the end. But that's how that book started.
What do readers like best about your writing?
They do tell me that they like my characters in a sense of realism. So they quite often say that when they close my book, they expect to walk out onto the street and bump into the people that they've just met in my book because they seem so real to them.
My goodness.
And I think they also quite like, I try and bring a lot of authenticity, and I try not to let the desire to build a thrilling plot overtake what would actually happen in the real world. And that's a kind of fine balancing act because the real world is unpredictable and maybe sometimes dull, and maybe things do sometimes just peter out into nothing, and there isn't a real explanation for what happened, and there aren't the huge dramatic moments. So I kind of want to do all that because it's a thriller, but never take it so far that you think, well, that would never have happened. Why would that person be in that room at that point? They wouldn't have been there. So I'm hoping that that's also something I bring to my work, is that the reader can think, yeah, I can actually see that happening, and I can see why that person responded like that and why that panned out the way it did.
Lisa Jewell is our guest. She's with Simon & Schuster on this side of the pond. And the best way to find her is on Instagram. She spells her last name just like the Jewel. L. One more L because she's something special.
Okay, now that you've been doing this for a while, writing 23, can you talk about do you have a particular writing routine? Yeah. What does your week look like?
Yes, well, it's obviously, I started writing my first novel in 1996, and gosh, nearly 30 years ago. And my writing routine has changed. Obviously, it would have changed. I had no children when I started writing, so I just wrote from 9 to 5 because I'd always had a 9 to 5 job. So when I stopped doing office jobs and started writing, I thought you have to write from 9 to 5, which is wrong, by the way. Nobody should be writing from 9 to 5. And I had a baby, and then I only had like an hour or two a day to write. And then I had another baby, then children went to school, so I was writing within the school day hours. And now I've gone full circle. My children are grown, and now I've got the whole day to myself, but I do not write from 9 to 5 because that's pointless. Nobody, that's just, there's literally no reason to put yourself in the writing chair for that many hours per day. So now I break my day up into 3 chunks. I have admin in the morning, which is quite unusual because most writers write first thing, but I can't face writing until I've done all my to-do lists. So I do admin, domestic stuff, housework, emails, social media. I spend a lot of time on social media writing to readers, replying to messages. Then I take my dog for a really long walk, which is, I think, where most of my book writing gets done, actually, is when I'm taking my dog for a really long walk. So we'll walk for about 2 hours in the middle of the day. And then I come back and I write for about 3 hours in the afternoon.
That's a perfect day. That's a perfect day. Where does the tea and coffee fit in?
Well, that's as I work in the kitchen. I work in the kitchen.
Oh, perfect.
So they're back and forth to the kettle, as often as I need to be.
What did you want to be when you were a little girl? When you grew up?
Good question. Well, I wanted to be a hairdresser, and then I wanted to be a journalist, actually. I wanted to be a music journalist. I was obsessed with music as a young girl and as a teenager.
Favorite bands?
Oh, I was into all that 80s indie stuff, all like the dark 80s indie music. That was my scene,
Nice. Question about movies and film and TV. If Don't Let Him In were adapted for screen, fingers crossed, who do you imagine playing Nick or the women characters?
I had the images of my characters in my head are very vague and wishy-washy, and I always described it as like when you wake up from a dream and you've had a very intense dream about a stranger, and you can't quite bring their face to mind, but you sort of know what they look like. So it's really hard for me to then go, oh, this is exactly the right person to play this character. But the actor who did my audio book for this, an actor called Richard Armitage. Yeah. He wasn't in my head when I was writing, but the minute I saw him and heard him, I was just that's him. Because not only is his voice entirely correct for the character, he's got that beautiful honey. Because my guy's charming and attractive, as well as being a terrible romance scammer. So not only was his voice just perfect with that little chip of ice in it, that little psychopathic chip of ice, but he looks like him as well. He's the right age, he's the right sort of physique appearance. So, yeah.
To look him up.
We're with Lisa Jewell, and her newest book is called Don't Let Him In. One of the things I love best about your writing, Lisa, is the dialogue. Your character is. How do you do it?
Oh, that's so, gosh, nobody's ever asked me about that before. Again, I try not to overthink it. I just set them up. And sometimes I do have to delete little chunks of dialogue. And I think most writers do this because you're basically taking control of a conversation between two characters. And it's it's a tricky thing to pull off because you need that conversation to lead the characters into the next situation or the next setup. And it's very easy for that conversation to go off piste and just sort of meander or ramble. So I try to just go in, not think about it. I just never think about writings.
Are you one of those people when you go to a restaurant that you listen to other conversations?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, are you one of those people who decides what they're going to have and then shuts the menu and tries not to think about what's on the menu? Which is exactly how I write, by the way. That's exactly how I write. It's exactly what I do in restaurants with the menu. I just look, I think I'm having that, put the menu away and don't think about it again. Because if you open it up again, you're going to think, oh, but that looks nice, which is exactly my approach to writing is I've written it, I'm not going to think about it, it's done. But yes, I do like listening to people chatting. I'm very nosy. You have to be nosy when you're a writer. You have to be curious about humans and their worlds and their existences. Totally.
It's very true. Very true. Advice for aspiring writers. What would you tell them?
It's not a one-size-fits-all thing, and it's terrible. My advice would always be, don't think about it too much. Don't worry. Don't think it's got to be brilliant. Don't think you've got to write the most amazing book that has ever been written. Don't think it's got to be perfect. Don't think you've got to have an amazing idea, because most of my books have come from like nothing even approaching an amazing idea, but have turned into things that were bigger than the original inspiration. And obstacles. I think a lot of people are constantly finding reasons not to write. And you have to just override those. So I think just making it easy on yourself and just doing a bit at a time and just thinking, I wrote 200 words today. Go me, I'm going to have a glass of champagne now.
Ooh, I like your style. Okay.
I'm not thinking, I only wrote 200 words today. I'm just so worthless. So yes, I think a lot more positivity, a lot less overthinking.
Why do you do it?
Like that. Oh, such a good question, because the point in my career I'm at now, I don't want to sound like showy offy, but I have reached a point in my career where I don't have to do it anymore. I've got everything I need in life. But because I just want to keep getting into people's heads, I want to live all the lives. I want to be a tourist in other people's existences and other people's stories and be in there and just find out about the world through writing about people and how they react to certain situations.
You have done so many of these interviews over the course of your career. Is there a question that you wish people like Jennifer and myself would ask you that you've never been asked?
Oh my goodness, now you called me on. I don't know. I don't think there is. Or quite often when I'm being interviewed, someone will ask me something and I think, wow, I've never been asked that before. That's brilliant. I'm so glad you asked me that. But I won't know until you ask me the question. So why don't you try me with something?
I have a question. It's a philosophical question.
Okay.
Why do you think the world needs story?
Oh, that's a really big question. And I don't know. I mean, you're asking why do people read books and why do people watch movies and why do people listen to music? And because, that's all stories as well. I don't know. I think it's just hardwired into human beings to need to place themselves outside of themselves and feel other people's feelings. When you're listening to music, you're feeling other people's feelings. When you're watching a movie, you're feeling other people's stories and situations. I just think it's hardwired into us. And I have no idea why, but thank goodness it is. I know. Thank goodness it is. Yes. Good.
Lisa Jewell has been our special guest. Her latest is Don't Let Him In. Run over to Simon & Schuster and buy the book, and you could find her on Instagram. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
And that's another interview from Bouchercon 2025, a copyrighted presentation of Outliers Writing University, all rights reserved. Learn more about our essential services at outlierswritinguniversity.com. With Jennifer Dornbush, I'm Terry Shepard.